Hello, today is Monday, February 1st, 2010, and you're watching Aniview Weekly episode 27. I'm Lyzl.
And I'm Leon, and today on the show we're going to be giving you guys a huge anime backlog of what we've been checking out for the past month and a half-ish.
So before we get into that, we're going to do our usual announcements, and the first one is that we're going to be having a huge week of reviews this week to make up for our lack of reviews that we haven't been having for a while. So we're going to be doing 4 reviews this week, and they are Bakano and School Days, as well as Kaiba and Saki.
So yeah, also on this sort of week of reviews note, this is going to lead into our next weekly, which is going to be happening on Sunday, February 7th, and this is going to be our winter preview for the season of 2010. So this is going to be just like all of our other previews. We're going to go through all the shows that have came out that we've checked out for this season, and we're going to give you our yays and our nays and all that good stuff that you guys hopefully tune in to hear about and all that good stuff. The other thing I want to talk about before we get into our massive anime backlog is that right now we are in our voting phase for the Aniview Awards. So I posted a couple of posts on the website and on our YouTube account a couple days ago letting people know that the new threads were up for the final voting. So we collected all of your nominations, we got our top 5 or 6s or however many we could fit in there, and now we need you guys to come back onto the forums and cast your final vote from the nominations that are in the first post of each thread. So this is also good for you guys because for every post that you cast, or every vote that you do, I should say, you will get a ballot in the sort of prize pool of a guaranteed review from us. So this means, once again, is we're going to put all the names into a hat, we're going to draw 3 names, and those 3 people will get a guaranteed review. So the last thing I want to stress about this, though, is the end date for the voting is February 7th. So the day of our winter preview, you have till midnight of that day to get your votes in, because after that, it's done. We're closing the threads, and that's all she wrote.
Alright, so now we're going to talk about the giant anime backlog, the sort of purpose of this episode. So, I've only finished a little bit, so Leon's going to start because he has so many to talk about.
Yes, I do. So the first section I'm going to talk about is my sort of horror phase that I went through. I went looking for some horror series, checking some forums and stuff, and the first one I found was one called Ayakashi Japanese Classic Horror. So this series was kind of cool in the fact that it was a 12-episode series where it was actually 3 separate tales. They had no cohesiveness with each other. And now, actually, though the first 2 weren't very good, I didn't really care about them, but the last story was quite awesome, and that's what led me to my second series, which is one called Mononoke. So Mononoke is actually based off of, it's like a spin-off of that last story. Everybody loved the last story of Japanese classic horror so much that they wanted to make a whole series off of it. And this series is phenomenal, has an amazing art style that just really draws you in, and it's really nothing you've ever seen before. It's very bloody kind of at times, and very creepy, and I definitely recommend it to fans of the horror genre. So the last one of this was actually a recommendation that I got off of Mononoke, which was called Requiem from the Darkness. Now this series was kind of a letdown, I want to say. It probably from coming off of Mononoke, because I loved it so much, I didn't really get into the Requiem from the Darkness, so it just felt not as strong in the end.
Then for me, I started a 52-episode series called Kaleido Star, and so it is split into 2 26-episode series, and overall, this is sort of a comfort food anime. I really enjoyed watching it as I watched it, and especially the climaxes of the 2 seasons really enticed me. But the overall feel and everything like that, it just doesn't feel like high quality anime or anything. I'm not going to recommend it to an art critic and say, wow, this is amazing. No, it's just sort of like you watch each episode and you're like, that was fun, and then there's a really cool climax, and you just start all over again for a second season. So I had a good time with this series, but it's hard for me to recommend it to other people because you just kind of have to watch it if you're just looking for something to watch.
All right. So the next section I went after horror, which is kind of odd, is romance. And the first one I wanted to snag from that is one called Canon 2006. And this is sort of the third piece of the puzzle to the Kyoto Animation's triple threat of Air, Clannad, and Canon. And this turned out to be my favorite one of the 3. I love the story so much more than Aaron, Clannad, and it just had a really nice, homey feel, and it broke me down a couple of times, so that's always bonus points for a romance series. So yeah, very good. I'd say if you're a fan of romance and you haven't seen this one, check it out. Now the other one, which was actually a recommendation from Lyzl, is one called F, A Tale of Memories. Now this one is it's a story of, kind of like Japanese classic horror, it's 3 separate stories, but they're all going simultaneously at the same time. Now, this one, I never really connected with an emotional level for this series. It just felt kind of on the surface. And the other thing is that there's three romance stories going on, but one is way stronger than the other, and one is almost non-existent throughout the whole entire series. So you don't have this equal feel of all the stories being, strong. One is overpowering, one is okay, the other just sucks. So as I was watching the series, I just didn't really care for at least 2/3 of it.
For myself, I watched a little bit of a shorter one named Generator Gall. So this one was recommended by someone on the internet, and he said that this is, my favorite series that no one else has ever seen. So I got interested in it, I picked it up, and the thing was that at the very beginning of the series, I was definitely not impressed. It just seemed like such mediocre anime fluff. And then by the end of it, they really bring in some cool elements with time travel and sci-fi aspects and just crazy climax. But the thing is, I really didn't like the beginning, and it felt so typical that I really didn't have any attachment to the characters. So when all this crazy stuff started happening and all these ideas, I just didn't really care for it as a whole. So while I admit that that final part is excellent, I never really cared for the series.
Okay, so the last story section I have is the rest for my solos, and the first one was a mini marathon series that you guys have known I started is Hajime no Ippo. So this one is very shonen. If you're a shonen fan, you haven't seen this, you must check this out. But if you are, you've already seen it. I don't know why I haven't. That must be crazy. It is very good for what it does. It's the core of shonen at its best. You have great fight scenes. You have kind of a nice sort of growing, wanting to become strong storyline, and it's so fantastic. The other one, which was really weird that we kind of passed up from the fall season, is one called Trapeze. This is a psychological series where it's sort of a thing that's really interesting is its animation, because it blurs and fuses real life and anime at the same time, and it was very off the wall. It's very episodic, and it surprised me. I thought going into this I wasn't going to like it very much, but it grows on you. You become a part of this very trippy world, and it sort of takes hold of you and makes you want to watch the series. So I kind of burned through it really quickly.
Alright, so now we're going to go on to the series that we've both finished watching, and the first of those is a special one called Kara no Kyokai, or Garden of Sinners. And this one is 7 movies that make up the series. So we actually started it way back when, but the movies only came out bi-yearly, so it takes a long time to watch them all. Overall, but I mean, it just had phenomenal artwork, an insanely intricate storyline, and it just all kind of worked together.
Yeah, the animation is top notch. This is fantastic, because you just expect it. It's movie quality, so this is not like your typical show. This is all the budgets on this stuff, and just even for its action, for its like horror, for its like mystery aspects, it's very strong, and it's a really solid movie series. The only thing I think is really cool about it is that it's fractured, so the movies don't sit in chronological order. You got to piece it together as you're watching these half an hour to sometimes 2 hour long movies, and it's a puzzle, and it's fun, and I enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it as well. The next one we started on was one called Genkutsuo, and that's also subtitled The Count of Monte Cristo, because it's based off the Count of Monte Cristo book. However, it's a crazy sci-fi with ridiculous art is sort of the idea. The
art, once again, there's a lot of things with really awesome art in this list that we're going through. The art was really, really good. It was really different, because it was almost like there was no solid colors. All it was like wallpaper patterns, and the characters sort of shifted through the wallpaper patterns as they were moving on the screen, and it made this really cool effect, and I just got sucked in. Not to mention the story was fantastic too. I really loved it.
Intricate in a lot of different ways, and it was fun to see a character like the Count. He was different than your average character.
Okay, so the other one that we finished, one of 2 more, we have is Toradora, and this one really took hold of us. We had started a long time ago, we watched a couple episodes, and we're like, this show isn't for us, so we kind of just threw it away. But after all the requests that we got from you guys, we said, okay, let's watch this. And then as we were watching it, it just took hold of us, and we kind of like slapped ourselves silly, like, why did we drop this series? This series was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, this is underrated series of the year for us type thing, not the actual voting, we're just saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, this series just blew our minds by the middle portion. I mean, there's multi-climaxes and everything. Every single one of them broke us down, made us so interested and more intrigued by the series. And I mean, just every aspect of the romance and the characters all were so developed and so intricately related that you just couldn't help but love the series by the end.
All right, and the last one is kind of on a downer note, is one called Nodame Cantabile Paris Chapter. And this is the 2nd season of Nodame Cantabile, a really good series. and this was sort of a letdown. We didn't really like it all that much. The third season is actually airing right now. You have to go check that out. But yeah, it just didn't live up to the first season.
No, it really didn't. It felt like a continuation without the major climaxes, and I felt that the music quality was a little bit down overall in the season itself, which really made No Dama Cantabile special.
Yeah.
So that's a sort of summary of everything we've been watching over this past month and a half or so. We're not going to have a discussion question today, partly because we don't have time, and partly because you guys haven't been giving us any discussion questions to talk about. So if you have any questions, comments, or requests, you can send them to aniview@hotmail.com or send us a comment on our YouTube page.
Or you can also get in touch with us through our forums via aniviewreviews.com.
So thanks for listening.
And we'll see you next time.